Hey guys, so today is Sunday Fun Day, and I'm out here having fun on the shaper. I've got this big block of steel that we've got set up in the shaper, and I'm just doing some practice cuts out here, wanting to kind of try different tool grinds and also trying some mist coolant there as well. So I picked this piece of steel up last year. I had shown it on an S&S where I had picked it up where my brother works. They had two big blocks of steel that I bought. It was this one here, and then I got another big block of steel right here that I had bought, and didn't pay very much money for either one of them. It is a true 10-inch thick piece of plate that was flame cut around to make a little over 10-inch square. I don't know what the grade is, but I believe it to be something like 836. It's just a hot rolled, gummy type steel. And the reason I got it was just for this kind of stuff right here. There's just a big block of steel that I could make some practice cuts on whenever I wanted to, and just burn it up, because there's a lot of things you could make out of this, but this is what I wanted it for. It's just kind of practice on the shaper there, making some big chips. So I've already been playing around with it, making some heavy chipping action, and I thought I'd go ahead and grab the camera and show you some of the shots as we do this. So I started with this tool right here. This is a Momax Cobalt, and this is more of a negative rake tool. All right, and it does okay, but it doesn't do as good as the tool that I'm using there, which is Rex 95, but that is a different tool grind on there as well. But this type of tool grind, you can see where I was making those heavy cuts with this negative angle on it there as you're approaching the material. It just puts way too much tool pressure, and that's what makes these real deep purple and blue chips. And I just think it puts way too much load on the machine for using that tool. I find that it actually has a little bit freer cutting action if you grind it with more back rake and side rake on it, which is what's on that tool right there. And then so it's making chips look more like that right there, so not blue and purple. And you can see I'm making a mess out here. I definitely need to make me a chip guard that can mount up here on the vise to help keep them contaminated just to this area here. The chip box that I have that catches the chips will only work whenever this vise is swiveled around to the side, and it fits up into those T-slots right there. So I want to position it this way when I'm making these real heavy cuts, so I don't have any chance of the workpiece being pushed out, pushing out the vise that way. So I'm going to show you some of the shots. I'm also running the Cool Mist now, the Noga Mini Cool. This is the first time that I've ever set this up. It's just a very primitive setup just to test this out and see how it works, but so far it's working really good like this. So we'll fire it up and I'll show you some chipping action. By the way, we are at, there's a compressor, we are at a 1/2 inch depth of cut on this. This is where I was using the other tool, and then I've been going across there with my other Rex 95 across here now. So it was recently that I went ahead and fixed the way the machine was sitting on the wood there. The machine itself is very stable now in that position. And if you're noticing any kind of movement here in the workpiece or the vise, what's actually happening, what I've discovered, is the table itself, the whole box table itself is actually twisting a little bit on that rail up there. And what I believe I've got going on is some wear issues up inside the rail right here. This is made to be adjustable here, and I think I'm gonna have to do a little work on that. But you can see it there. That's a lot of tool pressure up on there though. So what it's doing is just it's making the table twist just ever so slightly as it's making those real heavy cuts. Whenever I'm making normal, regular, light duty cuts, it doesn't do that flexing though. So it's a very old machine, so we know we got wear in it somewhere. I just reground my Momax tool, and what I have done is I added more side rake to it right here. I'm going to make another cut with this and see if this side rake plus the mist coolant, maybe it'll make a little improvement on the way this one cuts. But this one I consider a negative rake, at least a negative approach angle right there. So as it's going into the material, it starts to cut here in a forward motion there. It starts cutting and going down that side, but now we've got more side rake ground into it. I didn't have very much when I was first using this tool, so we'll go over there and give this a try. So the grind on that one definitely helped with the chip control, plus the mist coolant's definitely helping. I've got that mist spraying on the face of the tool down towards where it's doing the shearing action. So it's made a big improvement over the heat generated in the chip anyway. All right, so our side rake has helped on that right there. I just didn't have enough side rake on that tool. All right, here's the one that I was using just on the last cut. This is my Rex 95. And this is the only big 1-inch piece that I've got around here. I actually found a couple of them online, so I bought a couple more and got those coming, so I'll have more 1-inch Rex 95. Actually, I got a Rex 95 and then a Rex AAA coming, is what they were. So this tool worked out pretty good. I know you can't see it with that camera, but the edge is slightly broken down, slightly dulled off. But it did a lot of cutting across there. That's not as deep as what we were cutting. It's only 3/8 there. I'm just going to go over a little further and then we'll come back and I'm going to try another 1/2 inch depth of cut there. I went ahead and set it at a 1/2 inch depth. I'm going to try another 1/2 inch pass with my tool grind modified. This is the chips that was just coming off there. And that last little bit from here to here, I was doing a 40,000 step over on that. It was doing really good. It was popping these suckers off and flinging them right over there. There's a lot of mass in that chip right there, man. Let's try another cut. I'm going to start off 20,000 step over, and you know, and I see as it does, I'll increase it maybe 10 or 20 thousandths more. Reached our full depth now, 1/2 inch. Starting to get a little bit of that chatter in there. I believe the chatter is just from the table and the rail moving that little bit. It's not in the ram because I've got this ram adjusted as tight as I can without it being too tight. I'm going to make an adjustment and let's go up to 30,000 step over. This is 30,000 step over. That is a lot of chip right there. Popping everywhere. I'm getting some better results with that modified tool grind right there, but the edge is breaking out right there, so I'm losing some material. So it's, yeah, the whole edge of that is starting to break out. I don't think that the Momax tool bit is going to be the best tool bit for doing these cuts here. It does a good job. If you got a piece up here that you're just making some light cuts on to true something up, this is going to do a good job. But all this extra tool pressure and these heavy cuts, I don't think that's the one. I believe that the Rex 95 grade is a better suited tool for this, but this is why I like these trial and error cuts on there, is to experiment with some different tool grades and see which one is going to hold up the best. Another thought that I had on as to why the edge of that tool might have broke down the way it did. See, there's like a chip right up in this area right there. Coming into this flame cut side right there, anytime you have a flame cut piece, you know, the edge of it is usually a little harder, a little tougher than the inside of the, just inside the block there. So I've had plenty of problems in the past where I'm trying to cut on this flame cut area and it dulls and chips tools. So not saying that that's what it is, but it's very likely that maybe as it was coming into this cut, there was a hard section somewhere in there, maybe right there on the very end or somewhere in there that was a little harder than the rest of the steel that might have dulled that tool bit there. But we're still going to play around with some other grades. So once I get that other Rex 95 and the Rex AA, or I believe it was a Rex AAA, I'm going to grind those up like this and test them over here as well. I've been continuing my practice cuts here on the shaper, and I wanted to show what I've been doing. So this is my chip pan that you've probably seen me use before, and I have modified it so that I can now stick it on the shaper with the vise in this configuration right there. I was only ever able to mount it whenever the vise was swiveled 90 degrees, and so it would clear. But what I have done, they had another lip that was coming down this way, and I went ahead and cut that off. And I also had to separate it from this gusset here and actually pound it down just a little bit with the hammer to get it to clear. So it actually fits on there now, and it's perfectly usable, and it's doing pretty good. It's starting to catch some chips, but I'm finding that what I really like to do is build another one of these. So I am taking some measurements of this right here because I actually want to make it a little bit wider and taller, and I'll have my friend Joe down at his welding shop form me up a new box out of some fresh sheet metal, and I'll get some 1/2 by 1 1/4 flat bar, and we'll just build a new box. That's how it looks, you know, just weld them to the bottom so that they fit in the 3 T-slots. But I would like this 6 inches wider. Right now it's 18 inches. Let's go a total of 24 inches wide. That'll give about 3 inches more on each side right there. And we'll probably have these sides come in a little bit further. That's what this board was. I was making some cuts and some of the chips were coming right through this area here and flinging out to the floor. So we need to bring the box in a little bit, you know, so where we can clear. And I would also like to bring it up about 4 more inches from what it is. Granted, that is a very tall workpiece, so it's not always going to be up in the air like that, but just in case we do, just have a little extra capacity on our box. All right, so the next thing is that I went ahead and I didn't realize that I had a piece of Rex AAA tool steel in my box. I found it, forgot that I had it. It is a shorter piece. It had been cut off or ground on. All right, so this is a Rex AAA, and I've got it ground up. We've got 10 degrees side rake on there, just a little bit of negative rake on the cutting lip, and about 5 degrees side relief there on the under the cutting edge. But this tool bit has more toughness than the Momax, so this one is already doing better. I've been making the cuts from, you can see these chatter marks right here. My last tool bit that I continue to modify it to the point of failure was this guy right here, the Momax Cobalt. And I went all the way to a 20-degree side rake on that, and it just broke the cutting edge down very fast. And that's what it was doing here. It was so dull that it was just digging in and it was chattering. I went ahead and ground that off, and I didn't think to get a video or picture of that, but I went ahead and ground the top off a little bit, reduced the side rake. I can still use this, but I'm just experimenting that it's not the best tool still to use on the shaper. It works, but not the best. This is another one right there that I have not reground. I think I already showed you that, and you can see where it's already kind of burnt up and chipped off the corner there. All right, so I'm having a lot better luck with this Rex AAA. I'm going to continue using that, and we are now making a 3/4 inch depth of cut, and it's doing pretty good. Coolant is working real good. Now I backed off. We're running a 10,000 step over now, but I'll go up to a 20,000 step over and see what it does. And I don't want to push it much more than that on these big heavy cuts there. I don't want to, you know, do something and break the machine unnecessarily. All right, so we'll fire it up and make some more cuts. You can see they're kind of falling over here. So it's catching some of them. So this will allow me to kind of figure out how this box needs to really be shaped in order to catch chips if I'm going to use it in this configuration. And I'll be able to use it both like this and with the vise swiveled over here. All right, so that's 10 thousandths. We'll go ahead and bump it up to 20, see what she looks like. There's 20 right there. It's really pushing on it. Pretty cool. Seems like they've fallen right through that hole there. So every so often what I do is I just go ahead and disengage the feed. Just let it kind of spring past a couple strokes and then stop it. That way whenever you go to engage it again, it's not full depth into that workpiece. So let's stop our coolant, raise this up, and the tool edge, I know it's hard to see it there, that tool edge is actually still doing great. It's not chipped. It's not chipped at all. There's no dullness to it. So this is making better progress than what we were doing before. So far the Rex AAA and our Rex 95 are doing good, and according to one of my charts, I think a Rex AA will also work really good for this as well. All right, guys, I came across here with another 1/8 inch depth, and we are now at 7/8 inch depth of cut. There's one of the chips right there. I've made a few. So problems that I'm running into right off the bat that, I just made a few cuts there. I'm starting to get chatter in this. I had to drop the speed a little bit, but we're still getting a little bit of chatter, and I firmly believe it's because of the table here. It's not the RAM. I believe there's so much pressure on that it's causing this to shake a little bit, because there's just a tiny amount of slack in the table right here. And I think that's it. I think that's what it's going to tell you. So we'll go ahead and fire it up and make a few cuts on it. Go ahead and engage the feed here. Gotta wait till it engages. There we go. This is 20,000 step over though, so that's a pretty aggressive cut, I think. 7/8 step, 20,000 stick. That is a lot of pressure on this machine. I honestly don't know what the capacity would be for, say, a depth of cut and step over for this. I'm sure they engineered it to be more than what I'm taking right here. But that was probably also when it was brand new too and doesn't have any kind of wear in it. I am limited on that depth of cut with my tool grind there. I'd have to go modify the tool grind. Ultimately, I do want to take an inch depth, just to say that we did it and to see it happen. Oh, I know the other thing I was going to tell you. We've moved 1 degree on the tool head. It's been slightly shifting during these heavy cuts, so I tightened up the clamp just a little bit more.